people who have adult children that don't talk to you. Why do you think that is?
Parent. It's because I fucked up and neglected the relationship. I wasn't the father she deserved. It's that simple.
I was very deep in resolving my own trauma when my kids were growing up. I was often distant and emotionally unavailable. I wasn't the parent they deserved. It is the greatest sorrow of my life. I did to my kids what my mom did to me. I can't be sorry enough. From the other parent perspective, my adult children, 25 and 23, do not communicate with their father at all. Long story short, he remarried about a week after our divorce was final, and he and his new wife went on to have children of their own. Over time, his visits with the children became more infrequent and stressful due to his wife's distaste for me and my children. He has had no contact with the kids in over 3 years, and his previous attempt was 4 years before that. My youngest says he will never forgive his father for replacing us all with a new family and forgetting us. The oldest says it's just not worth chasing someone who has no interest. Personally, I'm sad and angry on their behalf. He divorced me, not them. Edit. I can't reply to everyone, but I want to say, the amount of people who say they've experienced this same issue astounds me, and breaks my heart. I just do not understand a parent who can walk away from their children. Even when it's been hard and I've had to be both mom and dad, I wouldn't trade my kids for anything. Mom here. My 23-year-old hasn't spoken to me in 4 years. It was completely my fault. I've struggled with addiction, alcohol, and for most of her childhood I was bad. I hope to be able to apologize to her someday. But, I completely understand and respect her decision.
My daughter went through a traumatic event when she found out her mom was having an affair with a junkie. Daughter was furious at her mom for destroying the family. Mom flipped out, threatened suicide to her daughter's face, blaming her. At that moment, everything shifted and daughter became the nurturer to her mom, who regressed into childhood, a complete switching of roles when my daughter really needed a mom. Mom wasn't safe to be angry at, for fear she'd kill herself, so I became the target. We talk, but it's so terse and superficial that it's close to non-communication. I'd like to talk through what happened, even in a therapeutic setting, but daughter says that's off the table.
There's a woman at church and every week she asks for prayers during prayer requests. At first I thought it was kinda cute, but it's over a year later and she always asks for prayers. That her children will speak with her again. She claims to have been the best mother and, one by one, all 3 of her adult children and thus her grandchildren stopped speaking with her. But she did everything right. She fed them. She clothed them. She put them through school. Which to me sounds like the bare minimum that you're supposed to do as a parent and not everything. But okay. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, but then, every week, another piece of the puzzle would come out. She tried calling but her number's blocked. She tried to find them on social media but she's blocked. How strange. She says she was such an excellent mother. Why would they block her? She tried reaching out again and received a handwritten letter on why she should never contact them again. But we never heard the contents of the letter. We were just supposed to pity her and have sympathy and assume that these entire separate groups of people were evil and were doing her emotional harm. I got to know her and she is an abusive narcissist and nothing short of pure evil. All the red flags you'd expect are there. But, every week it's pray to Jesus for me everybody. My evil ungrateful children. Blah blah blah. I'd like to hope she is just clueless, but I understand she is sick and probably doesn't know how horrible she really is. I feel very, very bad for her kids but very happy they were strong enough to break away from that hot mess. It almost brings me physical pain now when she asks for prayers that her kids will talk to her again. Because I know all she wants to do is resume hurting them. My stepdaughter is an addict and mentally ill. Her son was placed in our custody by the state 3 years ago at 13 months old and she has never made the effort to regain custody. Her rights were terminated last year and we adopted him last month when the state gave us the choice. She has hated us ever since he was placed here and has convinced herself that we stole her child. She only contacted my husband if she wanted money, which he won't give her, so that makes her hate us more. Their dad gave an ultimatum: if they want to have a relationship with him, they had to go NC. Edit. No contact with me. My middle child agreed to those terms. My mother told me, 3 weeks after I lost my father, best friend at 14, that he has told her on his deathbed that adopting me was his greatest mistake. It stuck with me my whole life. I'm 38 now, and know it wasn't true. But that narcissistic bitch can rot in hell. My son hasn't spoken to me in over 10 years. He had behavioral issues as a teen. I took him to doctor after doctor to get him help. He ended up in a partial hospitalization program. He had them fooled for weeks that there was nothing wrong with him. But one day it all came crashing down. After that, he deteriorated quickly in that program. We had come to the point where he was either going to full hospitalization, a boys' school for troubled teens, or he was going to be arrested for assault. His father, whom he only saw maybe twice a year, didn't want that and said he wanted to take custody of him. The program would only let that happen if my son was enrolled in a comparable program with his father. Father said, of course. Didn't happen. My son grew up and was a terror to his father and had little to no contact with me. He got arrested a few times. After one particularly bad fight with his father, he got kicked out. After a few months, my son contacted me. On Mother's Day, he told me he was in the Marines and was done with basic training and was going to be given an assignment soon. I'll never forget how proud I felt of my son then. Shortly after, I get contacted by the Marines, asking if I knew where my son was. He went AWOL the day after Mother's Day. After a few years without contact, he contacted me again, said he was doing much better and wanted to visit me. I said yes. I should have known when I had to pay for his bus ticket that he wasn't better. He stayed with me for a few days and I thought all was well. Not so much. 2 days after he left, I got a call from my credit card company. He stole my card and put $1,600 of airsoft pistols on it. I was given the choice to pay it, or call it fraud, in which case the credit card company would press charges. I called it fraud. I haven't seen him since. I'm still his friend on Facebook and have seen that he poses as a wounded Iraq vet. That is disgusting and shows me he hasn't changed at all. That's why I don't talk to him. I am a parent of a child who does still talk to me but rarely, and I fully accept that it is my fault. I was an immature parent and made some bad decisions in addition to being inconsistent with my parenting due to immaturity. I am also on the spectrum, but that's something I didn't find out until a few years ago when my son was diagnosed. I know I wasn't great, and I understand my daughter and I try to give her space. I had PTSD and didn't deal with it. In short, I was a shitty dad. My father would say that my mother lied and manipulated us into taking her side during the divorce. The truth is that he boasted to me about pulling a gun on her to teach her a lesson, and then didn't understand why I thought that was unacceptable. I haven't spoken to him in a decade since that discussion. To this day, I believe he was contemplating murder, suicide, or family annihilation. I grew up in a retirement community. What I've noticed was it's due to a few things. The parent is intolerant of their child's life choices. That can be everything from drugs, religion, politics, racist ideology, Parents. Who their kids married, etc. Sometimes it's the parent's unpleasant personality from either some personality disorder or just plain being an asshole. Some kids usually stay away cause they feel they've disappointed their parents and are hiding their life from them. The majority of the issue is usually due to an unpleasant parent. I have 4 kids. My 2 oldest aren't living with me. My oldest daughter talks to me some. My oldest son wishes me dead. I made many mistakes when my kids came back to live with me. Ex-wife lost custody. My eldest hated my LTR girlfriend. My daughter was right. She was terrible and consequently so was I. My daughter left to go back with her mother as she was not doing well here. I understand now why. My LTR made eldest son's life miserable too. During that time I broke up with the LTR. It was too late. My eldest son left to go be with his mother and sister. I am sure that my ex-wife is not helping this matter, but he is mad at me and I know I made some pretty bad decisions. I have accepted the fact I may never have a relationship with him ever again. My children are low contact. I feel it's fair. Their mother has BPD. She was violent and abusive. She has gotten help but she still hurt them. I did not protect them. Them not being around me is justified. They should be angry. We fucked up. They didn't do anything wrong and they need to heal as they see fit. Kids not being around their parents have valid reasons. Most people just can't accept it. Ooh, I'ma read through these comments and see if my dad is a Redditor. Edit. Shit, this kinda blew up. I had a patient. She has since passed RIP. Who didn't talk to her youngest daughter. We were very close. Saw her 3x a week. So I asked her why she thought her daughter distanced herself away from her. She simply said that they were too alike and they butted heads. Even over little things. She did admit that since they distanced themselves from each other, she has had more peace and she thinks her daughter does too. Not sure if her daughter went to her funeral. Although in my head I'm hoping she did. She died from COVID. Mom of a 23-year-old who went no contact a few years ago. If I'm really honest with myself, after years of reflection, I failed to provide the amounts and types of guidance he needed as he was growing up. I have reasons to explain why I failed to provide enough attention or did the wrong thing. But at the end of the day, the reasons why I failed don't matter a bit from his perspective. Because the result was still that he was hurt as a consequence of my choices. I hope he is healing and self-reflecting himself. I miss him terribly but respect his boundaries. Not me, but him in a tight-knit book club with women older than me. This topic came up, and I was surprised how many had a child who had cut off or severely limited contact. We didn't get into the details for everyone. It seemed some knew for sure and some didn't. They were all basically grieving the losses of their children. One woman had a daughter whose husband got into QAnon type stuff. The mom is very openly liberal. She worries for her daughter, but tries not to push herself into their lives for fear it will remove any chance of future contact. One woman had no idea what happened. She went from reading her grandchildren bedtime stories over FaceTime to being told not to call again. One woman kept sending letters until they all came back unopened. So now she writes letters but puts them in a box at her house.